200 years before that,
Riders of the Mark! Brothers of Rohan!
there was an older tale.
Arise!
So I'm just going to jump right into this. What for you was the most important part of this movie to get right? Like when you're coming into the story, there's so many aspects of it. You know, you've got the lore, you've got these characters. What was it you were like, this needs to be right? Like I won't negotiate on this one.
We can't mess this up. I think the fate of Helm was definitely one. Because of that, it's like slightly strange, otherworldly description that you have in the books of that moment. And Kenji Kamiyama just realized it so beautifully in this film. That felt important. I think I was always interested in what it would be like to see Edoras under siege, because we have seen the Hornburg under siege, but we've never seen Edoras besieged, and that was fascinating. And, you know, so there were many elements. I mean, really, honestly, truthfully, we just needed to get all of it right. There wasn't any moment that I wanted to be wrong, you know, like I wanted it all to feel really authentic to the world, but also to work as a film. You know, it was really important that it works and draws the audience in.
So what for you was, I guess, the most important part of adapting these less fleshed out aspects of Tolkien's writing? You know, how do you go about getting his narrative voice correct, I guess?
I think after having made 6 of these films, you know, there is a facility perhaps with the language, but I think that he leaves a lot of breadcrumbs in his appendices. I think that if you follow them, lead you to some interesting places. So, for example, it's interesting that Wulf, you know, he was not without cause when he seeks his revenge. You know, like and especially if you go into the histories as written by Professor Tolkien, the Rohirrim were not always nice to the Dunlendings, who were the people who were originally there. And, you know, so he was not without cause when he maybe seeks to take the throne. But if you look at what Professor Tolkien wrote, is that Wulf does not remain king, which said to me that Professor Tolkien himself, even though he didn't write this, meant that he never saw Wulf as a legitimate king. So therefore, if he wasn't legitimate, what is the rest of that story about? What actions did this man take that meant he was not worthy to sit on that throne? And so, you know, that's what I mean. That's a breadcrumb as far as I'm concerned as a writer. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think that character is so interesting to me because it's like, I don't actually blame him for this want for revenge, because what happens to his dad is like so tragic and so sudden. And he's almost kind of like disrespected the minute he arrives.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to see the sort of trajectory going and what you're picking up from just like a few lines of text. I think that's amazing. You know, obviously you just mentioned that you've far from dabbled in this world. You are entrenched in this world at this point. I'm curious, what story do you want to do that, if you had no restrictions, what's the ideal sort of like Middle Earth story that you would be like, I want to take this on? If, you know, money wasn't a thing, there's no issues. What's your dream?
I love the story of Luthien and Beren in the Silmarillion, and also the threads of it, obviously in the Lord of the Rings. But it's like you know, you have Aragorn and Arwen, which is such a beautiful love story. But before that, there was Luthien and Beren. And also it's an earlier age, and it's a kind of more mythic age. And you've got some serious monsters in that film. I mean, that you could bring into that. I love monsters that you could bring into that storytelling. But also she is such an incredible character, the character of Luthien. And so there's some of her DNA, I think, obviously in Arwen and Galadriel, but even in these human characters, I think. That courage, you know, that courage to go and face down the thing that you're most terrified of. Yeah.
Well, I couldn't agree more. You should do this. I want Aaron and Luthien. I'm putting this out there into the world.
Okay. All right. We'll see what happens. I might be too old by the time I get there. Might need to be the person watching it in the audience. And hopefully there's a fantastic young female screenwriter out there who could potentially do it. Yeah.
That would be amazing. Well, thank you so much for speaking with me about this film.
That was lovely. Thank you.
To watch it. And thank you.
Thank you.